Good evening, everyone. I think this is an amazing group of people that have gathered today here to honor a super amazing person, Jay Pullur, the founder and CEO of Pramachi Technologies, a person, one of the smartest, most regarded, and most respected individuals I've ever met in my life. Vision, determination, grit, drive, and an uncanny ability to groom and create super high performing teams. And with him was like the equally amazing co-founder and brother Vijay. So today, I think as we kind of have this memorial service for Jay, the best way to kind of remember Jay would be to remember and reinforce everything he was, who he was, what he stood for, what he created, the ethics he inculcated, the leaders he groomed, and the extended tech entrepreneurial web that he has spun, a super amazing web that he has spun, which is something that not many know, the network of entrepreneurs that he and Vijay have created. Today, we have his friends, his colleagues, his peers from amongst the industry leaders, the tech entrepreneurs that he has created, and many others that have known him and worked with him. Each one of us have some very, very fond memories of and with Jay. We've invited a few, it's a very large group. We've invited a few to share their experiences. We want to remember Jay for who he was, what he was, and what he did. It's a large group, but I think it's important that all of us, we get all those perspectives from this set of people. So just to get the proceeding started, would first like to invite Nirmala, Jay's better half in life, and herself from the tech industry to share her thoughts and recollections. Nirmala.
Thank you, Ramesh. Thank you all for being here today. And I look around and I see many familiar faces, but I also see some faces, some new ones here too. See, Jay touched many lives. The Pramathi family tribute in the paper mentioned that we were lucky to have crossed paths with Jay. It named him as the wind beneath our wings, and I think that is true for most of us here today. He was not one for long speeches and elaborate opinions. His was a deliberate, withdrawn nature, and he disliked being the center of attention. There is a common notion that being influential and well-loved is the life of extroverts, but Jay was the antithesis of that. He proved that you can be gentle in your manner, thoughtful in your responses, reflective in your decisions, and quietly move mountains. I saw many of you nodding when I said that, and perhaps you all acknowledge that the truth in this, but I know it still remains an understatement in whatever I said in these few words. I remember Jay for his love and attention to detail. His uncanny ability to select good art, paintings, sculptures, people from inconspicuous locations and settings that you and I might have entirely missed. I will remember his philosophical eye for aesthetics and the time he spent thinking about the feel and experience of things. With the benefit of hindsight, we can now say that it is no wonder that he achieved his dream of building a world-class technology company, a pioneering company, the Pramathi family. But success was never his focus. He targeted excellence. Excellence and success, he believed them to be two separate things. See, I'm in this time, I'm convinced that I must have done some good deeds in my past life to have had the good fortune of being his wife and companion through all these years. But I can't help but feel that maybe I must have done more of these good deeds. If I had done more of this, perhaps I would have been granted a few more years of life with Jay. I will remember the lessons he left behind, to have a razor-sharp focus on my goals, steer clear of fanfare, and to be measured in your responses, to listen more, speak less, to care about the quality of the things we use, and to always keep a 360-degree perspective of the world. The story of Jay's vision of Pramathi, his legacy, would be incomplete without his brother and business partner, Vijay. Vijay is the yang to Jay's yin, and together they built a truly wonderful enterprise that touched the lives of so many people. Thank you, Vijay, for always being the force that balanced Jay. It was a truly stellar professional partnership that you both shared. I'm saddened that Jay quietly faded away, but perhaps that too was in his nature, to leave the room quietly when nobody was looking. See, at the time when he was diagnosed with this PSP, he made a statement which sort of perhaps reflected the way the disease took over his life. We were just having some kind of a game among ourselves with Anant and me and Jay, and we were saying, completing different proverbs. And at that time, we were just, we went to the part where we were talking about speech is silver and complete it. Was a question that I gave, asked Anant. And promptly, Jay said, speech is silver, silence is PSP. And in the last days of his life, it was a totally silent world that he lived in. But I'm reminded of the mission, I'm reminded of his mission in life, and I quote, maximum good to maximum people. I'm sure he would have liked to have stretched the boundaries of how much good there could be, but I know, as everyone here knows, he not only excelled at that, but he succeeded as well. In the end, I would just like to say that wherever he is now, I wish for him that he is surrounded by the beauty and aesthetics that please his keen eye, that serve as a daily reminder that both Jay and his legacy were and continues to be extraordinary.
Thank you, Nirmala. I think it's very apt that we now invite the Yang of the Yin. Amazing partners. I mean, if you don't know their brothers, you would think like they're perfect co-founders. Would now like to invite Vijay to share his memories.
Thank you, Nirmala. And it's hard to speak. And we've been brothers for 52 years. I've been with Jay. I don't have a memory of fighting with him, even from my childhood. He's like, we were made like two sides of the same coin. He would be the vision, I would be the execution. Whether it is pursuing some childhood games or, his passion for collecting stamps or anything, we would always be in that together. And last 21 years, building Pramati, I can't explain now how many things we have discussed, and how many things we did together. Some amazing qualities of Jay was his breadth of knowledge, and in each of the subjects, whether it is politics, whether it is history, whether it is geography, world geography, you name it, and he has a depth, clarity, complete clear understanding of what he's talking about. Never did he ever talk anything that is out in the air and so fluff around. He knew subjects and he knew how to express that with extreme clarity. And I have not come across too many people how they could put concepts together and in such a manner that so it gets ingrained in your mind. I thought I would share a couple of slides, from Jay's creation, and to explain the concepts of how he used to express. This is the original slide, so I could not find the original copy of the slide that Jay made, but that image was so imprinted, I got it recreated. This is what was the vision when we started Pramati. What are we going to do? What is it that we are going to achieve by creating another or a startup? This is the picture he drew. Every 10 years there is new technologies. In 70s it said it's mainframe, 80s it is client server, 90s it is the internet. We started the company in 1998. He said there are great business opportunities on the falling edge of the curve as well as on the leading edge of the curve. And most Indian businesses at that point in time when we started always took advantage of the opportunities that came at the trailing edge of the curve. He said, what we are going to create in this company is going to be on the leading edge of the curve, which is innovation. And this vision and clarity with which he put together, after 20 years, these curves are still true. Probably the timelines have shortened a bit, but continuously new technology innovations and how this can be benefited in the large enterprise scenario, and how new products with innovation can be created. This is the clarity with which he would express any concept. I when we in 2008, when we converted Pramati into a corporate incubation model, he came up with this concept. This is one of the things. These are two slides that Jay himself made, and I'm presenting this to you today. He said, the Silicon Valley model is like comparable to Angel Falls, which is one of the most beautiful waterfall in the world. And it's all about like huge capitalization, building one huge market cap company. In fact, the name unicorn was not even coined back then. So that name came by only in 2013. And he said, our model is an Iguazu Fall model. Again, a beautiful waterfall, one of the fantastic ones, and it's comprising of 270 small waterfalls, but together the value is as good as the original one. And while doing this, we would have created those 270 young entrepreneurs, who would have created these products and understood how to build companies. This kind of clarity of communication and expressing stuff is something which I'll miss forever. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Vijay. Of course, Jay is in our memories today. So, but Vijay is the kind of the alter ego of Jay. That's how we look at Vijay. So, so thanks, Vijay. I think true. The Iguazu Falls is exactly not just the startups, the kind of people that have gone off away from Pramati into other companies, and kind of the organization that have been created is spreading the falls even further, not just the entrepreneurs and the products, but also larger businesses. Truly amazing. Before we hear from the friends and colleagues and other peers of Jay, there's a short video recollecting some of the times with and from Jay. Sandeep, can we have the video, please?
We were doing product development, we were doing good products for global MNCs anyway. I had the experience and fortunate experience of actually leading some of the teams, setting up some of those businesses and all that, which gave me the opportunity to experience the quality of talent which was available. So we wanted to build products which will represent the Indian talent and what we are capable of doing, and we went ahead. The reality is that we did not think too much as to how we would fail and what are the reasons. And there were no models, where we would have said, okay, so many people have anyway failed, so obviously I should be cautious about it. So that's the advantage of being one of the early birds.
So it is the younger guys who need to come up with the new ideas, and maybe they know what it takes to really face this competition. They will be able to spot these younger companies which could be competitive threat, and they may have the answers. So it is a responsibility for the companies to provide an environment where something like a playground or a sandpit where people can play around and build those applications, not be bogged down by the largeness of business which exists.
A key industry like this requires a 10-year-long period to build up. We recognize that the key capabilities can be harnessed and impediments removed over this period through a collective effort. Our aim at Pramati is to create global technology brands that inspires future entrepreneurs. This shows that startups not from Silicon Valley can still address large global markets.
So that was the Stardust wind beneath our wings, many of our wings. So I would now like to invite some of his friends from the industry to share their experiences with Jay and recollections of Jay. First is one of the people that Jay held in very high regard and a very, very good friend of Jay and Pramati and many of us, Ramnathan from Varenberg, who earlier was heading Ban and Cordis in India. Ram.
Let me start by offering my deepest condolences to Nirmala, Anant, Vijay, and other family members. I had known Jai since the late 90s when they had started in a small way in Hyderabad. I remember it was the Aditya Enclave in Amirpet. And somehow we ran into each other. We were developing ERP products, and Jai was also very passionate about products. And a lot of memories over these 21 years. But I wanted to kind of think about what was Jai's life mission and what is his legacy. I mean, I just thought about it. Perhaps if I'd like to articulate it, it is, if I can do it, so can you. So that's something which he has proven. And he has actually dedicated his entire career to that. I remember him sharing with me that he left his job with Wipro and he went into this world of products, and very few people, knew about products, and there was just no category of products in India, way back in the late 90s. But he went against the tide. He was from a middle class family, so business typically, you need a lot of money, you need a lot of background, but he had none of that. So he was a technocrat. He went through this, current, you could call it a headwind, and he emerged as a guiding light for many people today. And not only did he establish himself as a technology entrepreneur, he has also paved the way for many others today. And he has taught them, he has mentored them, he has given them a platform, and the video aptly summarized it. Experiment, explore, try out certain things, sandbox. I mean, these were the conversations we had many a times during those days. So I think he has actually played a pivotal role in, shaping India away from services to the product and intellectual property and innovation space. So apart from that, I mean, Jai was a very, very simple person, down to earth. And, you could meet him, talk to him, you'd spend a lot of time with you. And I really cherish my memories. And I would only like to say that, his vision and his passion would definitely be carried on by Pramati and more so by Vijay. I just wish you all success in taking it forward. And if in any way I can be of any help, please let me know. Back to you, Ramesh.
Thanks, Ram. Very nice thoughts. I mean, like you're bang on in terms of how Jay started. Those were the times we all know how it was. A truly amazing guts and vision Jay had. Another person that worked with Jay from the industry in the very early days is Ramam, a very, very good friend of many of us. Used to head Info, which later became Cognizant here, and is now the vice chairman of Eli Prasad Eye Institute. Ramam, we would like to hear from you next.
Thanks, Ramesh. I never thought that this kind of a situation would be there, that we have to speak about Jai. So Jai was more than a professional colleague to me. So we were close by neighbors here, and I used to, some years back, bump into him every day morning while I was on a morning walk that he would come up to the road to drop Anant in his school bus. And no guesses for what we would discuss all the time. It's all about technology and how a technology can be used for developing global products, not just about products and all. And another great memories was about in the early 2002, 3 and all, we started in HICIA, what's known as the HICIA Product Awards and Technology and Day and all that. And that was more to bring in product development thinking and more to talk about technology and all of it, not just services. And Jay was very synonymous with those HICIA Technology Day and the Product Awards and all that, and made a great contribution there. Later on was taken over by several other people. One of them is Ramesh. So we should be very proud that Jay is a first generation tech entrepreneur who had the audacity and the courage to think and develop global products, competing with sometimes with global giants like IBM and all that. That would require a lot of courage. And of course, incredible vision. Just now Vijay mentioned how it was. So Jay, too, is very, very simple and very humble, that reflects in all the products that he and his colleagues have built. You look at a UI or a GUI, that is also as simple as what Jay was. I think he inspired many, many techies, not just in Hyderabad in the early days through HICIA, but also at a national level, working at NASCOM on various forums and all that. I think if we are to take his legacy forward, then we should commit to develop more and more global products and then make India proud. I'll end that I believe that the value of life for people is not just determined by how long we live. So Jay is younger to me, by the way. So it's sad. But then the value is not about how many years we lived and all that, but what kind of a contribution we made to several others, what kind of an impact we made to several others, that they will take that legacy, run with it, and then they become an example for more and more generations to come and all that. I think Jay left that kind of a legacy for us, although he will be missed. But we will run with his legacy and then do some more amazing things that will make him happy. So thanks very much for this opportunity.
Thanks, Ramon. Thanks, Ramon. Next, we have Professor Rajiv Sangal, who, again, early days of Pramati, was a good friend of Pramati, and somebody that Jay worked very closely with. And the biggest thing of it connected me to Triple IT. I've been associated with Triple IT since 2001, and Jay got me. The first person I met was Dr. Sangal. Dr. Sangal, we'd like to hear from you, sir.
Thank you, Ramesh. We are meeting on a somber note. Jay is no longer with us, but I think what he has achieved will be an inspiration for many, many people. As we all know, in that space at that time, middleware, there were sort of 6 companies in the world that came out with a product. And one of them was an Indian company, and which was a startup. It was just amazing. The other 5 were IBM, Microsoft, and so on, the big names. And suddenly there was this Indian company which was there. So that was the kind of innovation which was done in India in coming up with a product which was competing in the global space. I know Jay since IIT Kanpur. He did his MTech at IIT Kanpur, and I know him from those days. His MTech thesis was on reasoning, artificial intelligence and reasoning. And it is always good to know that, the student whom you have taught has, done such a great amount of work and a wonderful work, which will be remembered. And based on that work, others will build on it, and many, many others will be inspired by it. At IIIT Hyderabad, I had asked him to come and share his thoughts, his journey, to inspire the students of IIIT Hyderabad in the early days. So it must have been around 2006 or 7, or just around that time. I don't remember the exact year. And he shared his story. And as part of his story, he talked about how he became an entrepreneur. And he talked about how he was in DRDO. And when things were not right, or he felt things could be done much better, he would go and tell his boss, and the boss said yes, and nothing would happen more than that. And one day, the chief of the lab visited. I think he was, I don't remember the name now. And he talked to the chief of the lab about this. And the chief of the lab told him that, what can you do about what your suggestion is, about what your idea is? And he said, I didn't expect this kind of answer. And the answer was in the form of a question, which Jay understood, I think, immediately. He said, yeah, this is what I could have said. Go and do it. And he says, and he related that day, how he became an entrepreneur that day. He was in a job, in a government job, in a lab, where if you want to do something, you can start doing it. And he said, that was a change in my whole approach to problems. So instead of complaining or saying this could be done, you go ahead and do it, and do as much as you can, and then show it. And when he started doing that, sure enough, his attitude changed completely. And so that was the initial journey. And when the time came, he left for, I think, Wipro. And after that, this idea was there, and he became a real entrepreneur in terms of starting an enterprise. And I think rest is history. I think Jay has done a wonderful job. I feel, when your student passes away, you feel, as a young person, he had not yet become 60, and a young person passing away, it pains us. But I think we can be inspired by what he has done, what he has created, and we will remember him, and I think a generation of people will be inspired by his example. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think that culture of empowerment is something that Jay very strongly imbibed in everyone at Pramati. Extremely high level of empowerment. So thanks, sir. I would now like to invite Shakti Sagar, one more great friend of Pramati, great friend of Jay, and who's worked in the early days of Pramati. Himself was heading ADP for a very long time in Hyderabad. Shakti, over to you, sir.
Thanks, Ramesh. It's very strange. When Pramati started, I first met Vijay, and then suddenly Vijay disappeared, and then Jay came in. I was wondering what happened. First, I thought it was Vijay himself. He said, "No, I'm Jay," and that was the time. In my conversations with him, I was amazed at Jay's simplicity and his passion. And he said, Shakti, I want to really demonstrate and get that image out of India having cheap labor coolies. He said, I believe that we have the intellectual, and I want to focus on really getting products out of India. I think we have the capabilities, and that's my mission. I want to prove to the rest of the world that we have the capabilities of coming out with product companies. And he says, I'm not worried about the big companies. At the end of it, I have the passion, I have the confidence, and I can fight those because we have the intellectual. And he went on and demonstrated. His Java applet server was competing with the big guys, and he did very well. And the other thing was, he said, while I develop my own company and take it to whatever levels it is, which has been great, I also want to create an environment for other young people to get into product space. Because I believe that's the space we need to be, because we have the capabilities and we need to do that. Like Ramam said, he was a pioneer of really talking about in HYSIA, saying we need to have this whole technology seminars and showcase those. He was a person who never said no whenever you invited him to talk, motivate youngsters. I think a lot of youngsters today will be grateful to him for having shown him the path in the product space. In fact, today I would think Jay is the true founder of product companies in Hyderabad and also in India. He was so passionate about this and wouldn't spare a single moment, a single opportunity not to goad people to get into product space rather than services. So hats off to Jay. I think the industry has lost a great pioneer, a great person, and a great friend for me. Thanks, Jay, for what you've done. And I think your legacy will continue, and we'll always be grateful for what you've done for our country. Om Shanti Om. Thanks, Ramesh.
Thank you, Shakti. We have Brigadier, another very well-known leader from the city, was executive director of ICF for a very long time, all through when Jay was associated, all the way up to Jay being awarded the Lifetime Achievement Award at ICF. Brigadier, sir, can we have your thoughts, sir, your recollections?
First of all, my deepest condolences to Nirmala, Jay, and the whole family. Pranam from an old friend of Jay. And he couldn't believe that he's no longer with us. But I wish and I hope that Jay is listening to us, because we have really gone a great length in software engineering industry, and a paradigm shift thanks to a person like Jay. And when Shakti mentioned, I can see many of my colleagues from HICIA here, and I being from an army background and from a punch card man from the computer age, maybe I'm talking from the well, but I have seen it today right up to artificial intelligence and beyond, and I still comprehend what is happening. So I can imagine the value creation by a person like Jay Pullur, with the assistance of Nirmala and Vijay, creating a totally different company in Hyderabad's ecosystem. And I will only restrict myself to my association with him in HICIA. Thanks to Shakti's invite, I joined HICIA in 2002 and left them in 2017. And in those days, we were also in tune with this industry. It was a mainframe legacy systems, and mid-range and client-server applications were coming up. I was myself in a software company, MNC, and understanding the ABCs of computer. And when I met Jay in Shakti's Wilco office in Raj Bhavan Road, it was something like a fresh air coming from somewhere. And the first interaction itself showed me that this person is different, quite different. And first of all, he believes in himself. And he wanted to make something for his company, prove something for the city or the state, and prove something to the world that there are abundant talent pool available in this country who could be guided to a totally different uncharted territory. And what heights he has gone, I don't have to say that. And we are all witness to that saga. We miss you, Jay. And I remember many social occasions when I participated in the celebrations of Pramati during each milestone event. My God, this is something totally different. The company is different, the people are different, they are from a different world. And what an ecosystem he has created, what a community he has created. And for HICIA, his protege Ramesh is sitting here, Ramanathan is here, and I remember Ramanathan and Jay starting something we call Product Accelerator, which became a software product awards 2010, if I don't make it wrong. And thereafter, Ramesh has taken over the torch, and he has taken it to startup ecosystems. And I don't know what is happening now, because I left them in 2017. But let's put it all together. It has been a fantastic journey, Jay, for you, and for us to be privileged to be have known you and worked with you. And I pray to God to the noble soul, and the legacy will live on. Hyderabad will never forget you. The country will never forget you. The software industry will never forget you. Jai Hind.
Jay's reach went beyond Hyderabad. Even in the early days, had a lot of good friends. And one of the earliest friends outside the city was Anand Parthasarathi, a highly celebrated and well-known journalist. Anand sir, can we hear from you, sir?
I think over 100 of us are now online, but we are not here to mourn the death, but to celebrate the life and achievement of Jay Pullur. And I have been particularly privileged over 20 years to have the opportunity to be part of every major success of Pramati, because that's what journalists get to do. In fact, there were 3 different encounters, and each of them opened a chapter of the company. It was within weeks of my being appointed as the first IT editor of the Hindu newspaper that the American trade press announced that a small Indian company had passed 15,000 tests at Sun Microsystems with their Java application server, the Enterprise Edition, J2EE as it was known. But we had to ask Pramati who, because nobody even knew about that company. But within a few weeks, Jay came down to Bangalore, and in his usual low-key style, he didn't have a big press conference. He camped in a small hotel on the Infantry Road, and then he invited a few journalists for breakfast to describe what Pramati had done. That was my first exposure both to Jay Pullur and his unique and understated way of working. But it gave me a great headline because within weeks, it transpired that Pramati's version of the server was better in benchmarking than so many others, including Oracle and IBM. So I could use the David and Goliath analogy without exaggeration. And 5-6 years after that, Pramati was always a regular presence in the Java 1 conference, which used to be held in San Francisco in the Moscone Center. And one of those years, I was sponsored to go there. And of course, when you go for a huge conference, you look for some Indian angle to share with the readers here. And sure enough, there was a stand of Pramati with Jay and Vijay standing there and themselves describing their product. They had a huge, big, a bold headline there called Dekho, and they didn't hesitate to use a Hindi word for their latest product. So that's another facet. They were not they were unashamed to call themselves an Indian company in the midst of 1,000 American companies there at a Java 1 Jamboree, which is, as you know, it's a very huge event. And following their fortunes later, it was thanks to Professor Sargopan, who a few years ago said, we must record the achievements of these pioneering companies and not let our youngsters think that the Indian IT story begins and ends with Wipro, TCS, and Infosys. There are other companies smaller, but who are also put their stamp on the world scene. So we compiled a short list, and Jay was so kind as to work with us from the very beginning. I can see Professor Rajiv Sangal. He was another of our icons. So I had the unique opportunity of a recorded conversation with each of these, and Jay spared a lot of time. This is the third encounter I had. He was in his brand new office in Gachibowli, where he actually, for the first time, he described to me his vision for the company, which had morphed slowly from being just a Java company to being a creator of multiple products at some point where social media and the internet, they joined together. So there was every year they created something, they spun it off, started something new. So Vijay, and I realized later that this is not a solo act, this is a double act with Vijay doing the work in Mountain View and Jay working from India, and together it was an unbeatable combination. I started my career in Hindu by calling this a David and Goliath story. After the years passed, Pramati could no longer be called David because they were a powerful company of their own and even bought up companies from people like VMware. So they were of strength to contend with. But beneath all this, there was the essential humble Indian DNA of Jay Pullur and Vijay Pullur. And that is what, for me as a journalist, I could celebrate this with full honesty and said, yes, we have world beaters and can even come up from a small gully in Hyderabad. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Absolutely. I think the humility runs very deep. They, as individuals, stand very, very tall, but when they talk, I mean, they're absolutely grounded in humility. So it makes all of us, there's no room for ego in that company because somebody like Jay and Vijay themselves are so humble. Thank you, sir. That's absolutely so true. Jay has worked a lot with the likes of NASCOM, iSpirit, and the other extended product ecosystem. And one of the people that he has worked extensively with is Avinash Raghava. Avi, can we have your recollections of Jay, please?
Hey, thank you, Ramesh. Yeah, it's an honor to be here. I've been very fortunate as an ecosystem builder to be working with Jay for a long time. My initial, meeting happened with him in Sydney, where we were part of CBIT and got some good time to spend with him. And at that time, Pramati was a very well-known product, the Java Enterprise Edition or something like that. But I asked this question to Jay: what's stopping us from becoming, a nation which can build global products and all that? So very simply, he explained the entire logic and what really is required to build India into a product nation itself. But his passion of the way he explained it to me, and we were a couple of us, all were very excited. That was the first instance, and then I continued to be in touch with Jay. As part of NASCOM itself, we got him involved in some of the activities. And later on, with his support, we also co-created iSpirit. Again, his passion was so much there that every time he would share his thoughts on what needs to be done, that was just an amazing thing. One of the things he contributed to iSpirit was the M&A initiative itself. Again, Pramati had sold some of the products and also was, had acquired some of the products. So it was an amazing thing. But apart from his, mission and the vision that he had for India and the ecosystem itself, I think I've always cherished the good human being that Jay was. Always calm, and many of you have actually shared his, shared the person he was. So I'm quite fortunate that I got to spend some good time with, Jay. I really wish, my deepest condolences to the family. And I hope we can live up to Jay's dream and continue with the passion of making India a product nation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Avi. So Professor Saragopan was supposed to be here, but something came up and he couldn't join. He was a huge champion and fan of IIIT. So he sent a message. I'm just going to read that out now. Software term gets autofilled with engineering as a suffix in India. While we have millions of software engineers, there are not many who can truly engineer software products like Pramati Server and many other mission critical products. That hallowed position belongs only to special people like Jay. He was truly my hero. I know him from IIT Kanpur days when he was an MTech student. He had kept in touch all through the years till 2020. I still cannot come to terms that Jay is no more. I pray for the Sadgati of Jay and my heartfelt condolences to the Period family. So that was from Professor Sadagopan. Like I said, he was a huge, huge fan, one of the most vocal people that would talk about and for Pramati in the very early days. I remember as early as 2000, 2001, in the very, very early days, extremely vocal supporter. So that was Professor Sadagopan. He couldn't join. I mean, he was very, very connected. Jay was very connected to academics. So another person that he had worked with is Professor Krishnan, Rishikesha Krishnan, Director of IIM Bangalore. Sir, can we have your thoughts?
I'm interested in software products in India for about 20 years. I started studying them in early 2000s. So I was really excited when I got the opportunity to meet Jay in the context of the founding of iSpirit. Unfortunately, I didn't know him much before that, but during the founding days of iSpirit, I was really, very impressed by the quiet confidence with which he contributed to the founding of iSpirit. He clearly had, with all his accomplishments behind him, he had a keen sense of what was possible in India and how our potential in developing products had not been realized. And I think infused many of the others also with this confidence. So I remember a lot of conversations in the early days of iSpirit where he played a very significant role. So this was really my introduction to him, and I was truly impressed by his commitment to taking products forward in an overall context where services ruled the country. So it's really tragic to hear about his untimely demise, and certainly I will treasure my memories of Jay Pullur, largely in the iSpirit context, but certainly in the overall context of building the Indian product industry. My sincere condolences to his family and everyone who worked with him. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. iSpirit was one organization. Jay was very, very involved. And again, in true Jay style, would never talk about his role there. I don't think he ever refers to himself as being one of the founding members of iSpirit. But quietly, he was a force, hosting a lot of iSpirit activities in the city and being a very, very active part. So Sharad, who was the key force behind many things product, but specifically iSpirit. Sharad, your recollections of Jay?
iSpirit, the very first meeting happened in Jay's office here in Bangalore. But before, in the run-up to that, I remember many fond conversations in Bangalore Club. And subsequently, when he would come to Bangalore, we would sit in the open lawn and chat about all things. But I don't know whether you know Ramesh. I came to know of him, I think, and I was introduced to him by you. I had come back, after Teltier in 2004 and 2005. I think Progress had happened, and then you had become a volunteer in the NASCOM product conclave later, and you would talk about him very fondly. And I think that was the connection that was there. So I think, to me, Jay was many things, and especially to Anand, his son, I want to tell him that there are very few people who can have one after the other successes. He was one of those few people who could pull this off. To me, he is the Steven Spielberg of our product industry, because getting one success story, is not easy, but many are able to do it. But he has been able to do this one after the other. And the reason was, I think he was quintessentially a dreamer. He was a thinker. He was a dreamer. He was really, focused on first principles, as you pointed out earlier, Vijay, and most of all, I think he was a real patriot at heart. He was absolutely passionate about the Indian product industry. And I think he is set in stone, the second wave which he represents. I think we have some from the first wave here. Vishnu is here. Subex went public. I think Nucleus went public in 99. I think they set the stage for this. And then came Jay, and he built on that foundation in a very strong way, gave confidence that we could build product companies out of India. And we are harvesting the results of that today with our SaaS industry, kind of breaking new records as we go forward. But I love what Nirmala said. He was gracious, he was quiet, he he was thoughtful, and he's shaped this industry in a way that we will remember for all times to come. So we miss you, Jay. I wish, you were still with us.
Absolutely, Sharad. Thank you so much. Bang on. I think he would hear so much from everybody. He would listen, and he would challenge very quietly, without saying much. He would challenge everybody to go way beyond their what they think are their limits. Absolutely. Thanks, Sharad. We had another senior leader who also is active in iSpirit, Shoaib Ahmed, who was the former CEO of Tally. Shoaib, would like to hear from you about Jay.
Thank you, Ramesh. I think there have been some amazing things told about Jay, but I want to keep this focused and to what affected me as far as my relationship with Jay goes. He was my guide. He was the personality just took charge of being the sobering effect to a very dynamic set of people that we had in iSpirit. He was a part of my journey through the transition at Tally. And I have to say that this one element of Jay, his personal touch, the care that he would take and understanding that he would give, to me especially, was something that I'm going to sorely, sorely miss. He's like a father figure. And it's just now that I realize that my age gap isn't too much. But yet, and this is all that I want to say, that in my favorite place where we would meet at the Grand Mercure Hotel for tea and coffee, and you'd sit down with me and say, hey, what's the kind of company that you think and what's the kind of value do you see for yourself? And the number that he told me about what I should value myself with, I was completely shocked. I didn't have as much of a valuation about myself or the potential for myself as what he saw. And that was for me a game changer. And what it's done for me is helped me to value myself, and more importantly, helped me as I now mentor and coach a whole lot of other startups and founders to help them to see what they should value themselves and how they should value themselves. And through this work of being able to mentor more folks, I will constantly remember Jay. He lived through this, through the work that I'm going to be doing. And this is dedicated to you, Jay. This is going to remain forever. And I'm extremely thankful for you to help me to see my full potential. And I promise to make sure that everyone I touch will reach their full potential. And I'm amazing person, and I'm very, very blessed to have been in touch with you. May your soul rest in peace.
Thanks, Shoaib. I think personal value is something, like you said, I think everybody in Pramati, without Jay ever actually telling anybody you're good, everybody knows what he values. Absolutely. I think that is something that very subconsciously comes to Jay in making sure people feel good about themselves through their work. So, so next we have, he's worked with a lot of officers from the government as well over the years. So one such person, Srivatsa Krishna, who was in Karnataka and also in Government of India. Sir, your thoughts of your experiences with Jay.
Thank you so much. It was a great privilege to get to know Jay when I was part of Mr. Chandrababu Naidu's team in Andhra Pradesh sometime around 97, 98. And Pramati was just beginning, if I recall correctly, in 98. And we spent a lot of time together. And I was amazed as to how someone from Wipro, who had a very comfortable job and who could have continued to be where he was, had the courage of conviction to give that up and go in and take on the big boys of the app server market like BA and Oracle then, which showed his amazing clarity of purpose and courage of conviction. I used to often tell him that you are like the Shah Rukh Khan of the product industry, where with no godfather, nobody, you didn't come from a family of entrepreneurs or businessmen. You were going into this very, very cutthroat global market. And in India, of course, there was none then. And he indeed turned out to be a trailblazer. Later on, when I became IT Secretary of Karnataka, I tried persuading him to come and set up campus here and offered to give him land. And his answer reflected his deep middle-class Brahminical values. he told me, Srivatsa, if you can help me find me a place in Mysore, which is where I want to eventually settle. Help me build a house in Mysore, and we can build a campus there as well, because that is where I want to go back and finally settle. I recall when the Autodesk acquisition happened, it was on the front page of Wall Street Journal. And I was so excited, I called him and I was virtually screaming at the top of my voice, because here was an Indian company, not the Infosys or the TCSs of the world, but a mid-level company, which was on the front page of Wall Street Journal, which does not happen every day. And Jay was his own cool, calm self, and as if it's just another day at work, which was again extremely remarkable. I would like to end by saying a word about Nirmala's tapasya. I have been an observer for the last year or so, helping out in a small way here and there. I think it's a great, rare to find a partner, a companion like her, who through such trauma over the last 5-6 years has never gave up, continued being by his side, and continued serving him till the very end. So my pranams to Nirmala. I'm sure Jay's spirit and soul will light up all your paths ahead. And last but not the least, I think most importantly, there's a little bit of Jay in every Pramati alum anywhere in the world. And I think every Pramati alum carries a little bit of his vision, of his thoughtfulness, of his humility, and that will help spread his magic and a bit of his soul all across the world. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. As part of the whole industry engagements, Jay did engage a lot with NASSCOM over the years, and Sangeeta has been there for the most part of all his interactions. Sangeeta, your recollections of Jay and his.
Thank you so much for inviting me to join this session. I want to start with my condolences to the family. It was something that was very unexpected, and I think it's a huge void that he's left behind for the industry. A lot has been said about him. He was a man of few words, but a big vision. And I think even today, hearing Vijay present his vision of what he thought in the 90s or early 2000s seems to be so much relevant, right, of how you should go about building companies and what this means for the Indian product ecosystem. For NASSCOM, he was the go-to person for a lot of, especially in the early days of, when we started product activities, every time we wanted to do something, we would talk to him. If he wanted to do an event, he would always be willing to come and talk, mentor companies, engage with startups, give ideas. I remember he came all the way to our office in Delhi to, present a new product he was building out. So that was like his vision and passion for when he wanted to build a product, he would come and just tell you about all that entire features of the product, why even some organization like NASSCOM could adopt a product that he was building out. So, I know we are running out of time, so I just want to conclude by saying his vision will live on. He's laid a very, very strong foundation. His legacy is something that we must all take forward. The youngsters of this industry must remember, and I think like Anand said, it should be documented. It is documented, but I think the more we can share it would be very helpful as we look forward to scaling India's product industry 10x. Thank you.
Thank you, Sangeeta. He had one of those few people that could have views at a pixel level of an image and can step back and have a vision at the broadest level. It's one of those uncanny people with that kind of ability to drill down that low and still step up and look at the vision. Thanks, Sangeeta. Next, can we have Sanjay Shah from iManage, an angel investor and also active in iSpirit. Sanjay.
Sorry, I'm in a very busy area at the airport. So if someone could just read out what I had sent, that would be great, because I think it'll be very disturbing to everyone, because I'm walking around going through security.
That even they were surprised. Sanjay, we will do that. So Chandru, if you can send it to me, I will do it after the next talk.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sanjay, but thanks for joining us though. We'll read out Sanjay's message just in a moment. The next group of people are from Pramati, old-timers, been around for a long time. Many with Pramati even now after 18, 20 years, and many others have moved on to do other things, but extremely close to Pramati even now. One such person is Deepak, who joined Pramati almost as his first job. and been there since for almost last 20 years. He is a co-founder of Wavemaker, one of the products at Pramati. Deepak.
Thanks, Ramesh. Hi, everyone. I could literally see all my bosses, or all the bosses I have worked with throughout my career here: Rajiv, Ramesh, you, Bhaskar, Vijay. The only one missing is Jay. So who had the maximum impact in terms of how he had transformed me. Just before I started to work with Jay, I think I was probably a lead developer, mostly having the kind of passion to become probably a better programmer or a developer. So a few years of working with Jay, so what I felt like he could transform people, right? So I have personally experienced that with my interactions with Jay, and the kind of passion he can inculcate in you. In every conversation I have, practically experienced that the vision for creating products. It's not. I know most of the folks have talked about the app servers. Impact that has been created in the industry, but Jay's vision was to create more and more products, which was true to his vision. In terms of context, the kind of success the product had seen. After context, his enthusiasm has doubled. He wanted to create even a much bigger technology product which emerges from India. Changes the app development landscape. That's exactly was his vision for Wavemaker. I was really fortunate and honored to work with him, share his passion and his vision and dreams, and put that into the product to take all the way to the global markets. We are, as Wavemaker, recognized as a global low-code platform today. I just wanted to share a few things about Jay. He was very visual, in terms of thinking. He wants to put it everything visual. You see the kind of whiteboard sessions that we had. So everything used to translate into a visual representation, be it presentations. Ramesh has mentioned about the pixel perfectness. So the demos have to be absolutely perfect. So before going to Jay to do the demos, we have to be absolutely sure about everything being perfect, the aesthetics. The second thing is about the amount of intellectual capacity he has in terms of the depth of technology. We have to be absolutely sure before walking into Jay's room. Okay, we have to be super thorough that anything which we miss to address, he would just catch us. So that's the kind of depth in terms of understanding he has of technology, the product we are creating, and his vision. All have to be perfectly in sync. Then one more last point I wanted to mention is about how caring he was. He was very people-centric. So Jay used to remember each and every person by name, though he doesn't directly interact with them. He knows all the team members by their name, by what they do, what part of the product they are working on, and he sometimes used to know about how they are working, whether they are happy, they're doing their best. So he used to literally take into consideration every aspect of how everybody is contributing and being part of this whole vision. It's always like he wants to bring everybody onto the same dream and really put their passion into whatever he wants to achieve, but we wanted to contribute. Yeah, that's all I had. Thanks, Ramesh, for giving this opportunity.
Thanks, Deepak. Before we move on to other Pramatians, just want to read out Sanjay's message, Sanjay Shah from iManage. So I'm reading out. from Sanjay. I was utterly shocked when I heard about the passing away of Jay Pullur. He was a true icon of the software product industry. Always became a friend of any startup founders who was looking for help, a mentor for many startups, and an endearing colleague of high spirit. He will certainly be sorely missed. I fondly remember the early days in 2013-14 when a few of us, Jay, Sharad, and Sanat, got together to discuss the M&A challenges and opportunities facing the India SaaS product ecosystem. He was always there to brainstorm ideas. His vibrant enthusiasm was infectious, to say the least, and always available, willing to open up his office for anyone who needed it, and always wanted to give more than he got. For me personally, he was not only a colleague within the M&A Connect group, but also a personal advisor, friend, and mentor. Heartfelt condolences to his family and friends. May his soul rest in peace. So that was from Sanjay Shah. So just moving on with the ex-Prometheans. One more person.
Sorry to interrupt. Vishnu is also there from the industry. So if you don't mind having Vishnu.
Yes,
Vishnu Prasad from Nucleus.
Vishnu Prasad, yes. Sorry, I missed that. Vishnu, if you could share your recollections of working with Jay.
First of all, thank you very much for giving me this honor, and it's really unfortunate that we are going to miss Jay. For a software product company like us, getting to hear an Indian name in the middleware space when we went to implement our solution at a bank was a breeze. It was a very nice feeling. And it's only after some another 6 or 8 years later that I get to meet the person who's created that name, Pramati. So I've been very fortunate to have intense interactions with Jay, and when we say intense interactions, they were in his own style, very quiet. As Nirmala has very correctly used the phrase, he moved mountains quietly. So that's what he's done for the Indian software product industry, and we're going to miss Jay. But yes, it's our responsibility to take his legacy on. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Vishnu. I think Nucleus is one of the early companies Jay used to refer to in the early days when I started working with him in 2000. I think Nucleus was a pioneer in the technology space in India as well. So thanks, Vishnu. I would now like to invite Srikanth Karnakota, one of the early employees of Pramati, who since Pramati went on to do other things in much larger companies. Srikanth, your recollections.
Totally, we are out of words to even outline what Jay meant to all of us. It's just a fantastic inspiration. In fact, one of the conversations I had with Jay as we were discussing is about just the name Pramati. It stood for exceptional mind, and Jay put so much thought into even those like little things. It was just evident that he is probably like Pramati represented Jay in every way, and Jay represented Pramati. And with Vijay, as we keep saying, these were like the two pillars that sort of build this product ecosystem out of India. And I'll give like just a couple of examples as to how, and probably very different as to how Jay thought so visually. We were walking through an airport after launching one of the brands, and he just suddenly stopped for a minute, just looked up and said, "Do you see that shade of orange? That's the precise shade we probably need in that logo of ours." When we looked at, and it always baffled me like how visually and in a simple way Jay used to articulate a lot of these things. One of the things that we struggled a lot was around the value prop for product immersion, and Vijay was sharing some of the slides. One of the slides that Jay sort of made just stuck on me for years altogether, even later, was saying how a value prop is inbuilt within multiple value props, and why the product industry in India is exactly that. And he sort of painted it in a simple fashion by using the concept of Russian dolls. Like they just stood with me, like how how a complex topic and how incisively Jay used to sort of distill out the essence of that in a way and make it far more simple. And simple things like, I mean, I get emotional as I related. Even like he was teaching me driving in the US. And he just said, look, how you accelerate a car has a lot to say about who you are. It's that level of finesse and that precision. And I think that's ingrained in all of us in Pramathians. I mean, while we are discussing about Jay, what we are carrying now in the industry and all of it is Jay have left like, Jay has left like such a imprint on all of us. Even now, whenever I'm looking at any presentation, or I keep using that as a benchmark. Hey, have I brought to their level of simplicity, that clarity, that precision? And these are small things, but it has been infused so deeply in all these mega entrepreneurs. Like there are many leaders out in the industry that today carry that legacy. And I feel we are just so blessed, so proud to have even been associated with Vijay, Pramathi, and I believe Jay will continue to live on along with all of us, just around these fundamentals and also his ability to just reach out and make a big impact at all levels. So thank you for giving this opportunity, and Vijay, deepest condolences as well. Like it's just insane, but we are all in and miss Jay a lot. Thank you.
Thanks, Srikanth. I think that the pursuit of perfection that he has instilled, I don't think anything we would do as our first, what we think is good, would ever match up to what he expects. We have to go back and redo before we get to any level that meets with his approval. Absolutely. I think that pursuit of excellence will live on through everybody that he has touched. I would like to invite Giri now to share his thought. Giri was heading Imagineer, which was recently acquired by Accenture. Giri, your thoughts.
Hey, Ramesh. Hey, Ramesh, thanks for giving the opportunity. It's interesting, like most of the people have touched on the points I had thought about, and then I learned so many things from Jay. I met Jay in 1989 in Mysore when I was a student of computer science and he was studying at IIT Kanpur. And in one of the visits, like he had come and then I just bumped into him. And at that time, we were looking up to him for like what next kind of things. After that, we had numerous opportunities. He was a guide, mentor, and a dear friend. There were certain qualities of Jay that I admired and always wanted to emulate. He was a patient listener and had a way of making complex things seem simple. I think many of us, like many of the people already elaborated on these things, right? Whatever you think is very complex, right? He would break it up into small pieces and make it look very simple and then absorbable. And whenever we worked on anything, right, whether it is on personal stuff or official front or whatever it is, right, he would first understand and get into the minute details and gain mastery over it, and then only subsequently teach us. So this is one of the important things that I thought. He was like as a guide, mentor, and I think someone was, Srikanth was mentioning, right, whether it is driving, you would attain mastery in driving and then say, this is how you would drive kind of thing. So that's the detail you would get into. And he was extremely intelligent, but at the same time was humble and ready to share his knowledge with anyone who showed any interest. It did not matter for him whether the person is really interested or not, but if someone showed any interest, he would go to any length, like spending his time and then giving out his full extent. Every moment I spent with Jay was a learning experience for me, like over the last 8 years when I spent time at Pramathi. Whenever we traveled together, we spoke not just about work, but also about technology, religion, finance, and many other things. He was a treasure trove of information and had so much to say about everything. And like whether it is something in the airport or whether it's something while driving, right? He had something to talk about, and which was always imparting knowledge to the co-passenger. As a friend, he helped guide me and make major decisions in my life. As a boss, he taught me skills that are embedded in me and which I will use and cherish for the rest of my life. I pray to God to give strength to Nirmala, Anant, Vijay, and all his family members to handle this loss. And lastly, I am forever grateful to God to have crossed paths with Jay. So thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Giri. So next we have yet another senior leader and the co-founder that Pramati has groomed and created, Praveen Kanyadi, the product co-founder of ShopQues.
Thank you, Ramesh. Thanks for the opportunity. I was just sitting and just reflecting on what everybody's been saying, and I was reflecting on all the interactions that I've had with Jay, and every single thing that, like for example, Nirmala talked about, one very profound thing that he strived for, not for success but excellence, simple thing. When I was, if you go and look at SpotQ's website and you look at the logo, you'll not realize that it might have gone through like 200, 300 iterations. And this 200, 300 iterations was after we almost finalized the logo. That's the level of detail that Jay would get into. He was actually, it tells a lot of story. He had created a whole presentation as to why the SpotQ's logo had to be in a certain way. There was a lot of thinking, thought, very, very deep, profound thought behind that. And to be honest, when I started off, at some point it was, I was like, nothing I did was good enough for Jay. I would keep coming back with iteration, and then he would tell me, why that, it was not good enough. So that's the excellence. And finally, what we got out there was something that really stood out. One other very truly amazing aspect about Jay was that every time I walked up to him to bring up something, most of the CEOs, people, leaders, they're short on time. When you go in there with that kind of, with their experience, they know what you're trying to allude to. And they will preempt the whole conversation and just conclude on that, this is what you need to do. But Jay was different. He would listen to you patiently and go through the entire process. He'll ask you a lot of questions. With his calm demeanor, he'll just make sure that he'll ask you all the questions, and he'll make sure that you go through the whole process. What I realized after a couple of interactions was that he already knew the answer. What he wanted to do was to guide me and teach me the process of finding out the answers. He was trying to inculcate that into me. He was trying to groom me as that person who could take those decisions, a person who could actually solve it myself. I think that was, and again, something that everybody has mentioned here, which is his ability to break down complex things into something very, very simple and also tangible. When he thought about a vision, he was also clear about what tangible steps we had to take. I think the other very important aspect about Pramati in general, which was Rajiv Sangal, he mentioned about the lab and empowerment. He always, when you take up a problem, he would actually give you that direction, and he would also provide enough room for you to go and figure it out yourself. So all of these are very important aspects of leadership, which is not about, with Jay, it was never about, sort of trying to impose the leadership, but it was all about grooming everybody else into becoming that leader. I think that is a legacy, hopefully, all of us can continue. So that is it. Thank you, Ramesh, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think the 200 iterations, the best part of Jay is like the perfectionist that he is, and he gets out of everybody. He does it without putting anybody down. Like you rightly said, he would just guide you through the process without you realizing what he's doing. There's an uncanny knack that he had. So next we have Bhaskar. Again, one of those leaders that got groomed and created at Pramati and went on to start and found multiple companies, and one of which has done extremely well. Bhaskar, your recollection. I know you spent a lot of time with Jay in the US on your first visit, and then, of course, since then, Bhaskar, let's hear from you.
Yeah, thanks, Ramesh. I think really extremely lucky to, having been around him, and thanks for the opportunity. When Vijay was speaking, the impact of just Jay and Vijay on my life and everything that I have learned, and done, it just set in, and it's just been because that was my first sort of live interaction. It's just been a hard hour, but thankfully I've had some time to just recover and talk about this. So I think about even before I joined Pramati, which was in 2000, the impact of Jay and Vijay. Because when I saw the website, when I heard about this aspect of there's a company doing products out of India, when I looked at the website, when I looked at the data sheets, the quality of people I interacted with and the way they would talk about the company, the product, and the culture. And I was fresh out of college, and it was stunning, right? Like I got introduced into this world of products which I never thought was possible in India. So that was kind of the starting point. At Pramati, Jay was the one who interviewed me. So someone at that level interviewing someone fresh out of college, when the company is already doing such amazing things, was pretty amazing. And someone pointed it out, and how people-centric he was. Throughout my career at Pramati, he always remembered me by name, which was also like really amazing. So at Pramati, the things I observed, right, the talent that was assembled, the way we used to hire only through references. That was, if I could assemble a team half as great as what we had in Pramati, like I always think about that, having built many teams, the way we used to hire, the attention to detail on many things. We used to have CDs which were printed, and everything associated with the brand. That was phenomenal as well, the attention to detail. So my observation during that time with Jay, I actually spent a lot more time, very fortunate to spend a lot more time with Vijay, even sharing an apartment with him when I was in the US. But my recollections of Jay, my image of him was when he was working with the studio team, right? Server was obviously an infrastructure product. Studio was much more of, you could define your own user experience, right? And that's when I used to watch Jay being super animated in a room with the studio team. And that was my first introduction to what does user experience mean? Why is it so important in defining products? And I feel like I really learned that part from there. And I wish I could get enough time. With Jay, there was a trip that he was supposed to make where I was still in the US, and I would have gotten to spend more exclusive time with him, but that didn't happen. But I do have a lot of interactions that I remember, and especially him sort of working with the studio team. But after Pramati also, right, like I feel like what I learned from Jay and Vijay, what I learned from Pramati is the thing that really drives me on a day-to-day basis, because I learned from that phase that building a product is really just having an opinion. And Jay always had an opinion about something, and then unless you don't have it, why even build a product? Because you want to be differentiated, you want to be recognized as this is original creative thinking. And when I do that, when I apply that rule, it's huge. The other rule I apply is, I think Pramati, in one of the data sheets or on the printed CDs, used to talk about managing complexity, and someone also mentioned how important that is, and I apply that rule every day, and I learn from there. But outside of that, everything that I know about brand, having product insights, user experience, understanding market opportunity, it is all sort of learned from that. And finally, just being associated with India and being a patriot and representing the Indian software ecosystem in whatever we're building, I feel that's the thing that stands out the most for me, makes me the most emotional, makes me identify with what Pramati was, and I'll always be grateful for that. So thanks so much.
Thanks, Bhaskar. And there have been amazing journeys in Pramati, many of us, and Bhaskar's journey from intern to creating a multi-billion-dollar business. I think it's truly amazing. The other thing about Pramati is like very, very deep friendships have been fostered at Pramati. Many of us would count some of our best friends to be from Pramati. And even if it was second or third job for some of us. And one such is Rajiv and Bhaskar and few others are extremely close friends. And Rajiv is a hardcore Pramatian. We used to joke around saying like, if we were to go bust and after all the furniture is moved out, Rajiv would still be in the floor. He'll be the last one to leave. And hardcore Pramatian at heart. Rajiv, now a serial entrepreneur. Rajiv, your recollections of, I'm sure, extremely fond memories with Jay.
Yeah, it's very hard not to be emotional talking about someone who's influenced your life personally, professionally, in so many ways. But when I think back about it, right, it's amazing how sometimes like a chance encounter makes such a deep, life-changing impact on you. And like my whole association and journey with Pramati was one such chance encounter where, like, I was on vacation before starting my PhD. I saw this ad in newspaper that said, like, exceptional minds at work, and we're building product, and like, hey, like, what's this going on? I checked out the product. There's a nice website, brochures. It just installs. It just works. And this was like 99, right? And this was running on my assembled Linux. I'm like, okay, I got to go meet these people. And then you look at all this brochure, the ads and the website and everything, and then you follow the address, you land up at Aditya Enclave. I mean, like, it's like, what? They're building this out of Aditya Enclave. And I just met the people, I saw the product, and I was so desperate to join. Like, I want to be part of this journey, right? Like, I think his vision of building those world-class products out of India got so many of us excited and brought us like some of the best team together. And now, like the other day, I was seeing an ad where some new startup, they're trying to attract talent by giving BMW bikes to new joinees. And I was telling Bhaskar, look, man, like, this is what they have to do to attract talent, and look like the vision of Pramati and building products, and how like we were like bringing in people, like, and people were desperate to join. Like, that's true leadership, like, right? To me, that's like something that's just amazing. I joined, like, and started seeing some of the things that are important to Jay, right? Like very early on, like I'm seeing Ripple in the team. Ripple was the first UX person. I think we were like hardly 6-7 people at that time. And there is like this UX concept, like in 99, I don't even know if there was a concept of user experience, but Ripple was there. And like, I was thinking about, like, Jay's taken his savings and put this into this vision of his. And it's not just about technology, like he's gone and brought this person to work on the user experience, and that shows in the product, but it kind of just gave you that glimpse into like what's important and what mattered for him. Right? You take like some of your hard-earned savings and put it into something that's important for you. And that was like, I think it started giving me some insights into how what it takes to think about in terms of product, which is just beyond the functionality. It's stayed with me forever. And like I think Deepak was mentioning that, like, the pixel perfection, like you go into any meeting with him and you're talking about something, and but there is one pixel that's bothering him. So that pursuit of excellence, it was amazing. A great person. I mean, like the way I think both Jay and Vijay, the way you run the business very professionally and ethically, It never did I ever hesitate to just put my career in your hands and say, just mold me, right? And like very ethical. Like, I know sometimes in difficult times when Jay wouldn't compromise, we're trying to get business from the government, and Jay wouldn't compromise. People would be frustrated, but actually that was something I looked up to. Got really close. I think while building context, and like, one of the early things he said to me is like, Raju, like, look here, I've done enough things. Like, this whole thing is really about me wanting to see you succeed. Having a champion like that, I think I don't know how many people even get to experience having a champion like that. And I would go to some customer meetings, like go to Bombay, come back frustrated, and be like, Jay, like, it's like just not working. Like, some method is not going through, or like something is not working. He would be like, not to worry, like, but next morning I realized that he's done some research. He'll look up some paper, he'll look at some competition. He'll come back with like, hey, like, what if we take some of these things from some other industry, some other domain, and then try to pull that idea into our product. And like, you could just go to him with problem, and he would take time. Like, he's up early in the morning. He's done some research for you. He's like, by the time you're in office, you have something to chew on. It was an honor. Like, the pursuit of excellence, the push for simplicity in the experience, the push for whenever you're making slides or messages, like how do you distill that down to the core of it. The other thing, I think, I forgot who mentioned the differentiation, like how do you differentiate a product? His mantra is to differentiate or die, right? That's what the products are about. And he was so keen on building many product leaders. At one point, he was talking about starting a product management institute. He's like, hey, these MBAs are very theoretical. Like, we need the country needs a place where people can learn product management. And like all things Jay, right? He would have these grand vision of what that product management institute looked like. It would be like nothing less than a huge university, and then people, product leaders and entrepreneurs coming from all over and sharing their stories, and kind of like an incubation center. It's impossible not to be inspired by some of his vision. At one point, I asked Jay, like, hey, Jay, like, you moved from like a technical role to becoming CEO, and like, what was the hardest part of the transition? And his answer was developing a sense of comic timing and wit. Like everything, like technology, like marketing, all this is like having that sense of humor and that, like, the timing, that right, like that he said was the hardest thing for him. But I wish I had even a fraction of that. And lucky to have part of the journey that he started, and it's going to be with me forever.
Thanks, Jeeves. Thanks, Jeeves. I think like, and he effortlessly made everybody want to do it. I mean, the values, both Jay and PJ live it. They never ever tell this is the right thing to do. They just live that, and it's just natural that whether it is the pursuit of perfection or anything, it's just all of us would just make us want to do it. Absolutely. So next we have a very interesting person, the first person to have been hired by Pramati back in the late 90s. First engineer that was hired, Sunita, who is now back to Pramati after a few years living outside the country. Now she is back to Pramati. Sunita.
Thank you, Ramesh. Thanks, everyone. I know it's hard to talk about Jai in 60 seconds, so I'll try my best. And just some of you who don't know me, I was hired 20 years back by Jai, right? When I was fresh out of college, and I was fortunate to work with both Jai and Vijay back then. And it was, I can never forget those golden days in my early part of my career. back in Aditya Enclave, Amirpet, right? We were creating world-class J2E, product, app server in the studio. And we made business trips together to, San Francisco on the Java One, exhibitions. Those are like, I can never forget. Jay, not only is my mentor, guide, right? He's a great visionary leader and a friend. I haven't seen any C-level person, executive, with so much down-to-earth personality and so humble, so transparent in my 20 years of, working for any, big US corporations. I still remember he used to say, like, one should be after knowledge and rest automatically follows. That tremendously influenced early part of my career. And back then when people were, had too many options to pursue, right, around them. And he was someone who would, notices your potential and, provides the support for you to succeed, right? More than a leader, he's a true intellect. And of course, it didn't stop with him. He created a world of, Pramati, where so many people had opportunity to shape up their careers. As someone else mentioned, the kind of care he would give the people for around him is just amazing. Like many of you, I picked up a lot of discipline from my parents when I was young, but I think after I grew up at work, I think Jai took that place as a guru forever. I'm grateful that I was and I am part of Pramati family, passing on this Pramati working culture to the next gen. As Shrikant was saying, right, in Sanskrit, Pramati means exceptional brains. So indeed, he produced this factory of great minds. I think he's going to be with us, with me in our thoughts, like he was always forever. Again, thanks, Chandru and Ramesh, for giving me this opportunity.
Thanks, Sunita, and good to see you back at Pramati. Among some of the senior leaders Pramati had hired through the years, Lokesh Reddy is one of them, who kind of initially started the product development services group, which went on to grow and become Imagineer, which is now acquired by Accenture. Lok, your thoughts?
Yeah, first of all, I would like to say deepest condolences to Nirmala, Anant, and Vijay for this terrible loss. Yeah, Jay to me he was a visionary, a good leader and a mentor, and he inspired many young leaders and entrepreneurs to dream big and push for high standards. And I think one of the special qualities that I've always learned from both Jay and Vijay have been to have a strong belief and perseverance, right? So as we all know, the success stories and the journeys we hear now, there have been many ups and downs. And 2003, 2004 was one such really tough times. And that is the time around end of 2004 is when I joined Pramati. The very few minutes I met Jay, I knew it was my destiny and I wanted to be with that team. And it was a fantastic journey. We took the product DNA and the experiences and kind of spread that to help many ISVs, global ISVs like the TIPCOs and the Visas, many such more. So also on a personal front, Jay was a very humble human being. He was a perfectionist. I recall when we visited his new home in Srinagar Colony, how passionately he described the perfect cubicle shape of the end tables that he designed and got built. So it shows like everything he does, it has to be perfect. And he had a great sense of humor. And during our many get-togethers, I have vivid memories of the toddler Anant running around Jay and how proud and happy Jay was. And Nirmala was there, all cheers, seeing two of them play. Sorry for being emotional. And Jay was a special and precious person. And I think hence God took him away too soon. Jay, we're going to miss you, but the lessons that we learned from you will always be there with us. May your soul rest in peace.
Thanks, Lokesh. I know it is emotional for almost everybody that's worked with Jay, but I think when we were planning the memorial, we resolved we will celebrate his life. We'll celebrate everything he stood for, and I'm sure that is going to stay with all of us. While we will surely miss him and very, very badly miss him. There have been a lot of messages that have come on the chat windows. We were going to read out some of them, but we've already gone a little bit past the time. But all the messages are going to be on the portal. Sandeep, if you can bring up the portal again. So would request everybody here, friends of Jay, family, colleagues, Prometheans, ex-Prometheans, and anybody that Jay has touched. I think Jay is etched in all our minds. Things that Jay and Vijay stand for kind of is very, very subconsciously in the way we think, the way we work, the way we do things. And then there are many ex-Prometheans doing some amazing stuff out there, creating companies and doing some phenomenal things in other companies. And I think that's something that's going to remain. I think the best way to remember Jay is to just do things that Jay expected out of us in our current jobs and current lives. So please request everybody to just go share your comments. That page, the memorial page, will be a permanent page. The comments will always be there. And if anybody wants to send a video message, please send that as well. That's going to get posted. And so I'd like to thank everybody for joining us in this occasion where we remember Jay. And everything that was said today that's going to be posted in the coming few days, the comments, the videos, will all be a permanent memory of Jay in each one of us, in the collective memories. Thank you so much, Jay. We will surely miss you, but you will live through the work you did and through the people you've helped nurture and grow. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great evening.